Unova with a realm of happiness and unlimited for the group based upon striking head to the northern crater and has remained ever since. Upon these discoveries, Cloud recovers and comes to terms with his past and regains his consciousness. He has a renewed drive to confront Sephiroth and save the planet. With Cloud back, the team heads to Junon, where Shinra is in the process of extracting a huge materia from the reactor and placing it on a submarine. The submarine carrying the huge materia leaves the port, but Cloud and the gang hijacks another submarine that shoots down the one carrying the huge materia. However, the huge materia is retrieved and shipped by air to Rocket Town. At Rocket Town, the group manages to fight their way onto the rocket. The autopilot device is turned on, and Palmer successfully launches the craft into space carrying the huge materia. Sid manages to realize his dream of going to space. Cloud retrieves the huge materia, and the group makes it out in an escape pod. The rocket slams face on into Meteor, but Meteor successfully reassembles itself and continues to fall toward the planet. Bugenhagen believes the key to defeating Sephiroth lies in a force called Holy, which was summoned by Aeris's white materia before she died. The team retrieves the key to the Ancients on the bottom of the sea and brings it back to Bugenhagen. Cloud and the team realizes that Aeris was already attempting to summon Holy prior to being slain by Sephiroth. The power of Holy can only be unleashed if Sephiroth is defeated. Kate Sith supplies the news that Shinra has taken the huge cannon from Junon, the Sister Ray, and has moved it to Midgar. Shinra plans to fire it upon Sephiroth's energy barrier in the northern crater. Suddenly, Weapon rises out of the sea and approaches Midgar. Cloud and the team try to fight it off, but it is to no avail. In desperation, Shinra fires the Sister Ray upon the weapon. It falls, but manages to fire a volley of shots toward Midgar. President Rufus is killed, but the energy barrier surrounding the northern crater dissipates. Before heading to the crater, Vincent runs into Lucretia, who has been preserved through Genova cells. She asks what happened to her child, Sephiroth. Rather than to concern her with the current circumstances, Vincent tells Lucretia that Sephiroth is dead. Kate Sith reveals that the energy fed to the Sister Ray will soon destroy Midgar entirely. It is discovered that Hojo is the one supplying power to the cannon. Cloud and the group parachute into Midgar, where they run into the Turks in a machine piloted by Scarlet and Heidegger. When they get to the top, they find Hojo obsessed with supplying additional power to his son, Sephiroth. After revealing that he has injected himself with Genova cells, the team beats mutant Hojo and manages to shut down the energy feed. Cloud reveals that there are only 7 days to defeat Sephiroth until Meteor strikes the planet. Cloud and the group finally confront Sephiroth in the northern crater. The team defeats his first and second form, then Cloud faces off against Sephiroth alone. Sephiroth is finally destroyed by Cloud, but Meteor continues to plummet. The High Wind is destroyed, thrown aside by the intense destruction of Meteor and the emergence of Holy. From a cliff, the group hopes that Holy will be enough to save the planet. Just as Meteor begins to wreak havoc upon Midgar, Holy attempts to counteract Meteor. Unfortunately, it cannot overpower Meteor and continues to fall toward the planet. Just then, the Lifestream appears and fights back against Meteor, joining with Holy and counteracting the Force. As Meteor breaks apart, a vision of Aeris is seen in the Lifestream. 500 years in the future, Nanaki and his offspring run through a field that overlooks Midgar, which is now ruins covered with vegetation. And that is the complete plot of Final Fantasy VII. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel.
With a remake of the classic Resident Evil 3, along with the brand new title Resident Evil Resistance right around the corner, we here at Suggestive Gaming figured now would be a good time to look over the story of the franchise so far. That's right, the entire Resident Evil story. Seeing as this is going to be a huge undertaking, I realized that I can't go at it alone, so I recruited the help of our friends Jeffrey and Noah from the 2-Bit Players.
What's up,
Jeffrey, we're supposed to keep this clean.
Sorry, Noah.
All right, Josh, we're pumped, we're ready, let's do this.
I am so excited.
Do note that we will only be covering events that are canon to the video game series, which means the Paul W.S. Anderson directed film series is off the table, and given the breadth of the franchise and the fact that certain games can play out differently depending on which character you pick first, we'll have to leave some things out, so feel free to fill in the blanks in the comments. Now, without further ado, this is what you need to know about Resident Evil.
Our story begins on July 23, 1998, where a train owned by the pharmaceutical company Umbrella, called the Ecliptic Express, is suddenly attacked by a swarm of leeches, killing its passengers while a mysterious figure overwatches from a nearby cliff. 2 hours later, the Raccoon City Police Department's Special Tactics and Rescue Service, or STARS, send in their Bravo team to investigate a series of cannibalistic murders in the nearby Arklay Mountains. However, on their way, their helicopter is forced to crash land in the forest. There, they find a military police transport truck overturned with its officers dead. The team then split up, and their field medic, Rebecca Chambers, comes across the Ecliptic Express stopped in the middle of the forest. Rebecca enters the train only to find it overrun by the former passengers, now reanimated zombies due to their exposure to the T-virus. This virus was a creation of the Umbrella Corporations. Created by the progenitor virus, an ancient West African virus, the T-virus' purpose was to mutate biological cells for the betterment of the human race, but eventually developed into a military product. After exploring the train, Rebecca eventually discovers Billy Cohen, a former Marine who was the prisoner the military police truck was transporting. The two begrudgingly form a partnership when they see the mysterious figure outside the train. Shortly thereafter, it begins to move once again. The two are able to stop the train before it speeds off of a cliff, and instead end up directing it towards an abandoned Umbrella research and training facility. There, they learn of the history of the progenitor virus and Umbrella's use of it by the corporation's founders, Oswell E. Spencer, Edward Ashford, and Dr. James Marcus. Marcus was responsible for the discovery of the virus, and while Ashford wanted to use its regenerative properties to help the handicapped, Spencer and Marcus saw its potential as a biological weapon and began creating the T-virus.
Meanwhile, Umbrella employees Albert Wesker and William Birkin observe the situation and they realize that the T-virus has gotten out of control. Wesker decides to leave Umbrella to join their rival before their inevitable discovery and implosion. Birkin, however, decides to stay behind to continue his work on a more powerful G-virus. Wesker then explains that he's planning on luring the STARS Alpha team, which Wesker has joined as a double agent, to the Spencer Mansion, where the T-virus is already spread, to collect data on the infected. Birkin then decides to arm the training facility's self-destruction measures.
After getting separated from Billy, Rebecca meets back up with Captain Enrico Marini from her team, and he informs her of Bravo Team's plan to meet up at a nearby mansion, but allows Rebecca to find Billy first. Just after, however, Rebecca is attacked by a giant BOW created by the T-virus known as a Tyrant. She is able to temporarily subdue it before meeting back up with Billy, who is able to help her defeat the creature. Shortly after, Billy and Rebecca finally meet the mysterious figure responsible for the outbreak on the train, who turns out to be none other than Dr. James Marcus, or so it would seem. He reveals that he was assassinated by Wesker and Birkin on the order of Spencer 10 years prior, but the queen of his experimental leeches entered his body and absorbed his DNA in order to regenerate him, obtaining his memories and taking his identity. He then splits into a mass of leeches and chases Rebecca and Billy through the facility.
Meanwhile, Wesker makes his way to the training facility, encountering and defeating the Tyrant on the way. Once there, he comes across Spencer's lead bodyguard, Sergei Vladimir. After an argument, Sergei sends one of his genetically engineered Ivan bodyguard Tyrant units after Wesker, who is able to defeat it. Their battle is brought to a halt, however, as Birkin activates the self-destruct system. Wesker then escapes to meet with the STARS Alpha team to make their way to the mansion.
Elsewhere, Billy and Rebecca are able to defeat the Queen Leech. Afterwards, the two find the Spencer Mansion and Rebecca heads towards it to meet with STARS, while Billy leaves, being declared officially dead to escape his war crimes.
Rebecca finds her way into the mansion but is unable to find the rest of Bravo team. Eventually, fellow Bravo member Richard Aiken finds a sleeping Rebecca, and the two head off to find their captain Enrico Marini. On their way, the two witness Sergei Vladimir with one of his Ivans carrying a BOW prototype away from the mansion. Later, the two are ambushed by a giant snake-based BOW called Jan, which gives chase. It is able to corner them in the library, but Richard jumps in front of it to save Rebecca. She is able to shoot the monster to scare it away, but Richard is left incapacitated, infected with the creature's poison.
Shortly after, STAR's Alpha Team arrives to investigate the disappearance of Bravo Team. They find Bravo Team's downed helicopter, along with the corpse of one of the pilots, but finds all the other members missing. Shortly after, they are attacked by mutated dogs called Cerberuses, which kill team member Joseph Frost. Alpha Team's pilot Brad Vickers takes off, leaving the remaining 4 members, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, and their captain Albert Wesker, to escape to the nearby mansion. Inside the mansion, the team split up to search the building. The Bravo Team members are found inside, but all of them are either dead or die from their injuries, including Richard, who sacrifices himself to save an Alpha Team member. Jill works with Barry while Chris meets up with Rebecca. They learn that the mansion is actually owned and operated as a base by the Umbrella Corporation. It was built for Oswald Spencer by George Trevor, whose family was abducted and experimented on to research the progenitor virus. The daughter, Lisa Trevor, is still alive, although mutated by the virus, and STARS is forced to avoid her as they progress. After destroying a giant plant and some giant sharks, STARS eventually finds Captain Enrico Marini, who believes there is a traitor among the ranks, before he is shot and killed by an unknown assailant who escapes afterwards. STARS finds the basement of the mansion to be a secret laboratory, and there they find the Epsilon virus, which had leaked and infected the mansion's inhabitants. Wesker is finally revealed to be a double agent working for Umbrella, who led STARS to the mansion to test the BOW's effectiveness on armed soldiers. He then intends to destroy the facility to cover up the various illegal activities. Unbeknownst to the others, he had also injected himself with a mutant T-virus strain in order to strengthen his body. It is then revealed that Barry was working for Wesker, under the threat of his family's murder. Wesker eventually admits to his true nature and also reveals that he plans on double-crossing Umbrella by handing over their research to their rival. He then awakens the T-002 tyrant to attack STARS, but it instead attacks him first, impaling him. The lab's self-destruct system begins to count down, and the remaining STARS members, Jill, Chris, Rebecca, and Barry, make their way to a nearby helipad to call in Brad. He arrives just as the tyrant reappears. The STARS team is able to defeat the creature with a shot from a rocket, and they are able to escape as the mansion explodes in the distance.
While the mansion exploded, Wesker was able to survive his attack due to the virus within his body, and secretly escape. Fighting Lisa Trevor on his way, Wesker traps her inside as he leaves, finally putting her out of her misery with the mansion's destruction.
2 months later, in Raccoon City, 8 patrons in Jay's bar witness a news report about increased violence in the city. Shortly after, an infected man walks in and bites one of the bar's staff, Will, killing him. The others escape, discovering the city to be overrun by infected zombies. They eventually reach the Raccoon Mall, where the police intend to detonate explosives to kill a massive group of zombies. 2 of the police are killed, however, forcing the group to assemble the detonator themselves, using it to kill the zombies. They then leave as more police reinforcements arrive to secure the city.
Elsewhere in the city, 2 firefighters investigate the boiler room of the nearby Apple Inn before it explodes, trapping them and the other survivors from the bar inside. After fighting a mutated civilian called the Suspended, they're able to escape into the city.
Later, Cindy Lennox, the waitress of Jay's bar, approaches the Raccoon Zoo, noticing a note indicating an evacuation chopper's planned arrival. The survivors enter the zoo and are attacked by various infected animals, but are able to escape to a tram. However, as the tram is leaving, it is brought to a stop as the evacuation helicopter crashes, killing another group of survivors nearby.
Elsewhere in the city, we find Jill Valentine investigating Umbrella. After the outbreak, she's forced to attempt to escape, eventually reaching a warehouse where she and civilian Dario Rosso bar themselves inside while waiting for a rescue party. After a day, however, Jill decides to give up on that idea and head out, leaving a stubborn Dario behind, who locks himself inside a crate. On her way through the city, Jill comes across STARS pilot Brad Vickers, who was bitten by a zombie during their first encounter. He warns Jill of a looming threat to STARS members before she heads off to the Raccoon City police station to search for a way out of the city. There, she sees Brad again, who tries to warn her to run before he is attacked by a giant, tyrant-like BOW programmed to eliminate all the STARS members, the Nemesis T-type. Jill is able to escape the tyrant and make her way through the police station, overhearing a distress signal inside. She then heads downtown to find its broadcaster, mercenary Carlos Oliveira, Carlos, who is employed by Umbrella's Biohazard Countermeasures Service, helps Jill during another attack from the Nemesis, and proceeds to inform her about his team's emergency escape plan to use a tram to reach the city's clock tower, where a helicopter will arrive for evac. Jill reaches the tram and meets Carlos's fellow mercenaries, Sergeant Nikolai Zinoviev and injured Captain Mikhail Victor. Jill and Carlos then head off to find equipment to fix the tram. During their search, the building Nikolai is searching gets bombarded by zombies, and he is presumed to be killed. Jill and Carlos fix the tram, but as it begins to move, they are attacked by the Nemesis. Mikhail sacrifices himself, detonating a grenade and blowing the Nemesis out of the tram. However, this causes it to derail and crash through the wall, blocking their way to the clock tower. Jill and Carlos are able to work their way through the clock tower and figure out how to ring its bell to alert the rescue chopper. When the chopper arrives, however, it is shot out of the sky by the Nemesis, wielding a rocket launcher. Jill and Carlos fight him, and he eventually collapses in a pit of fire. During the fight, however, Jill is infected with the T-virus. Carlos then takes her into the clock tower to rest as he looks for a cure.
Meanwhile, Claire Redfield is searching for her brother. Her and rookie RCPD officer Leon S. Kennedy separately stop at the same gas station, which they find to be under attack by zombies. The pair meet and take a nearby sheriff deputy cruiser to the city. There, they overhear an announcement encouraging survivors to head to the police station for shelter. They are forced to continue to the station on foot before they are separated by an explosion and carry on independently. Claire and Leon do reunite, but are separated by a locked fence. A nearby rescue helicopter is shot down and explodes, ending their reunion. Another tyrant, the T-103, appears and begins to stalk our heroes. Claire finds an underground tunnel and traverses through it, coming across a young girl named Sherry Birkin. However, shortly after, she is attacked by a mutated creature wearing a lab coat. She's able to temporarily defeat the creature, and the two make their way into the police station's parking garage, but there they are surprised by corrupt police chief Brian Irons, who kidnaps Sherry and takes her to an abandoned orphanage. He then calls Claire, demanding she bring him a pendant that Sherry dropped, and she reluctantly agrees. After she heads off, Leon finds his way to the parking lot and meets FBI agent Ada Wong. In the station's cell area, they find a reporter named Ben Bertolucci, who was arrested by Irons for investigating Umbrella's shady operations. However, Ben is killed by the tyrant, who attacks Leon, but he is saved by Ada. The two then agree to work together and head through a gun shop owned by Robert Kendo, who takes his infected daughter aside before a single gunshot is heard, before Leon and Ada head to the city's sewer system. Meanwhile, Sherry attempts to sneak past Irons to escape the orphanage, but she's unable to escape him. However, the creature in the lab coat reappears and infects him. Shortly after, Claire arrives and finds Irons, who is killed by the parasite he was infected with. Claire then finds Sherry in a facility under the orphanage, but the two are found by the tyrant. During their escape, the creature appears once again and kills the tyrant, but turns its attention towards the two. It attacks an elevator they're in, causing it to drop violently, knocking Claire unconscious and forcing Sherry to head off on her own. Claire is awakened by Annette Birkin, Sherry's mother. She informs Claire that the creature chasing them is her husband, William, mutated. She also reveals that she took Sherry before leaving suddenly. Claire heads off and eventually finds Sherry trapped inside of a trash compactor by Annette. Through her travels to unlock the compactor, Claire discovers proof of the truth. William had escaped with the G-virus, hoping to sell it to the US military. He was discovered by Umbrella soldiers who shot him fatally. However, in order to survive, he was able to inject himself with the virus in his final moments. He then hunted down and killed the soldiers, shattering the vials of the T-virus they held and causing the outbreak in Raccoon City. Claire encounters William and fights him once again before successfully opening the compactor. Inside, she rescues Sherry, but finds her to be infected by William, who had been hunting her due to her DNA closely matching his, allowing for the virus to spread. Annette tells Claire that she can heal Sherry at her lab, an Umbrella facility called Nest. Meanwhile, Leon and Ada also come across Annette. Ada informs her that they're there for the G-virus, but Annette responds that it won't be possible. She then ignites an infected corpse before opening fire. Leon tackles Ada and takes a bullet for her, passing out afterwards. Ada follows Annette, eventually finding her but also getting knocked into a trash compactor. Leon awakens and rescues Ada, and the two head off to Nest as well to get a sample of the virus. On their way, Leon and Ada share a moment and a kiss, and Leon continues on as Ada is too injured from her fall into the compactor. Leon obtains the sample and battles William. Afterwards, Annette reveals that Ada is not actually an FBI agent, but rather a mercenary who plans to sell the virus. Leon confronts Ada and she admits her deceit, pulling a gun and demanding Leon hand over the virus. Annette shoots her, however, and she slips off the bridge they stand on. Leon reaches to catch her, dropping the virus into the abyss beneath the lab. Leon loses his grip, however, and Ada falls as well. Meanwhile, Claire finds the vaccine for the virus, unlocking it with Sherry's pendant. She also battles William as Annette administers the virus to Sherry. Claire emerges victorious, and Annette succeeds in curing Sherry before dying from wounds incurred by William. Afterwards, the facility begins a self-destruct sequence, and Claire takes Sherry to an evacuation train, where she successfully communicates with Leon. After fighting and defeating William once again, Claire enters the train and takes off.
Elsewhere, Leon encounters the Tyrant once again, and Ada, who somehow survived her fall, tosses him a grenade launcher to help him defeat the creature. He does so and escapes to find the moving train, hopping on and finding Claire and Sherry inside.
The train is attacked again by the final remains of William. The pair are able to defeat him once and for all, and the three finally escape the city. They leave the train to continue on foot, and Leon and Claire swear to continue their fight to take down Umbrella, and the three agree to stay together, at least for now. Afterwards, the sole survivor of William Birkin's attack on the Umbrella operatives, codenamed Hunk, escapes the city with a sample of the G-Virus.
At a temporary shelter, Dr. George Hamilton finds a note from his colleague, Dr. Peter Jenkins, asking him to help at the nearby Raccoon University. George takes some survivors to help Jenkins at the university, but when they arrive, they find him dead by gunshot to the back of the head. They find his notes referencing an antivirus called Daylight intended to fight the T-virus. The survivors then set out to find the materials needed to synthesize the antivirus. Elsewhere, a team of mercenaries working for Umbrella encounter an experimental tyrant BOW called Thanatos, created by rogue Umbrella researcher Greg Mueller. Nikolai arrives to collect a sample of Thanatos' blood, which he does, enraging the monster and causing it to kill all of Nikolai's ground troops. The canister of blood falls, and the survivors are able to retrieve it to obtain one of the Daylight components. They then obtain the other two components and head to synthesize the vaccine. Upon doing so, however, they are interrupted by Mueller, who threatens them with Thanatos before he is shot dead by Nikolai. The survivors then escape with the sample, and Nikolai starts a timer on a detonator of C4 charges throughout the university. The survivors escape and battle Thanatos, finally defeating the monster. A helicopter then rescues them as they escape with the sample of Daylight.
3 days after Jill fell unconscious, Carlos finds a vaccine at the Raccoon City General Hospital and uses it to save Jill, rendering the virus dormant in her system. The two then head to the park, and Jill finds a secret room used by Umbrella's secret supervisors, sent to observe and record combat data from the BOWs in the city. Inside, she hears a message informing the supervisors to abort their mission, as the city will shortly be destroyed. Nikolai arrives and reveals himself to be one of the supervisors before he threatens to kill her, before a giant worm forces him to flee. Jill defeats the worm and discovers an Umbrella waste disposal factory where she meets up with Carlos, who informs her of the US military's plan to destroy Raccoon City with a thermobaric missile strike. Attempting to get to the factory helipad, Jill battles the Nemesis once more, defeating it and obtaining a key card needed to get there. At this point, Nikolai either escapes or is killed, but either way, Jill encounters the Nemesis one final time. Using a prototype railgun, she is able to finally kill the creature once and for all, meeting up with Carlos and escaping via helicopter, potentially aided by Barry Burton depending on the previous encounter with Nikolai.
Elsewhere, we find an Umbrella Security Service member, Captain Rodriguez, preparing to leave the city in an aircraft with a stolen BOW. He is with Umbrella researcher Dr. Linda Baldwin, who convinces him to wait while she goes back to the R&D center to retrieve a drug that may help in stopping the spread of the virus. As she enters, experimental hunter BOWs escape captivity and place the facility on lockdown. Baldwin is able to obtain her sample, but cannot escape the facility until the lockdown is released. Another researcher, Dr. Carter, begins to activate a tyrant, called the Tyrant R, hoping it can kill the hunters and allow their escape. The Tyrant R succeeds in killing the hunters, and Carter then plans to cause it to destruct by activating a bomb hidden within the creature. However, the Tyrant R interrupts this plan, killing him, destroying the sample, and knocking Baldwin down into the water treatment facility below. There, she is found and rescued by survivors, and after some water flushes through the sewers, they emerge outside the Apple Inn. After fighting the Tyrant R once more, the survivors reach Rodriguez and escape the city before its destruction commences.
Meanwhile, we find Ada escaping the sewers to the surface of Raccoon City, in front of the Apple Inn. There, she intends to meet her contact from Umbrella's rival company, but finds him dead from suicide. Suddenly, Albert Wesker calls her on a nearby computer, accusing her of failing her mission and defecting to help Leon. But she shows him the sample of the G-virus she was able to recover. Wesker then informs her of the city's imminent destruction and tells her to find a helicopter carrying an Umbrella executive to escape in. Ada makes her way, fighting the Tyrant R on her way and killing it in turn, before finding the helicopter and attaching her grappling hook to a package being carried by it, allowing her to escape the city. Afterwards, the US government carries out their plan and destroys Raccoon City with a thermobaric missile blast.
1 month later, Private Detective Ark Thompson is asked by Leon, his personal friend, to investigate an Umbrella facility. Ark is able to infiltrate the Umbrella-controlled Sheena Island under the guise of impersonating Umbrella Commander Vincent Goldman. However, Ark is seen by a child, Lot Klein, who informs the real Vincent of this imposter. Vincent, believing Ark to be sent by Umbrella headquarters to find proof to remove him from his position, then triggers an outbreak, hoping to escape in the scuffle during the cleanup operation. During the outbreak, Vincent discovers Ark in his office. The two have a quick fight where Vincent grabs Ark's dog tags, but Ark is able to escape to the helipad and commandeer the chopper there. Vince grabs onto the landing skids, and as Ark attempts to fly away, he loses control, causing Vincent to fall to the ground, and the helicopter crash lands with Ark still inside. When Ark recovers, he wakes up with a gun but no memory of who he is or why he is there. He fights through the island's infected inhabitants, finding Vincent's unconscious body, holding his dog tags. This causes Ark to believe that the man in front of him is Ark Thompson. Eventually, Ark finds photographs of him impersonating Vincent, leading him to believe that he is in fact the commander, and the perpetrator of the horrible acts on the island. Ark continues through the island, finding the Umbrella facility and 2 children, Lot and his sister Lily, whose parents were employees of Umbrella. They initially fear him, believing they'll be punished for revealing his identity to Vincent, but he protects them and earns their trust, leading Lot to reveal Ark's true identity to him, which sparks him to regain all of his memories. The facility suddenly triggers a self-destruct sequence, and Ark sends the kids to the facility's railway station where he will meet them. However, on his way, Ark encounters the prototype Hypnos T-type Tyrant. After fighting the Tyrant, Ark heads to the railway and the 3 regroup and take the tram to the helipad for evacuation. There, the Tyrant attacks once again, but Ark defeats it and takes off in the helicopter. However, still not quite done, the Tyrant grabs the helicopter, but Ark fires 2 missiles at it, finally killing it. The 3 then fly off in the distance, not quite knowing what their future holds.
3 months after the destruction of Raccoon City, Claire infiltrates an Umbrella facility, still searching for Chris. Claire is captured by Rodrigo Juan Raval and imprisoned in the remote Rockford Island facility. While unconscious in her cell, she is awakened by the sound of a nearby explosion. Rodrigo arrives and releases Claire from her cell, believing they all will be dead soon anyway. Outside, Claire discovers that an outbreak of the T-virus has occurred on the island. Shortly after, she comes across a fellow escaped inmate, Steve Burnside, and the two discover that Chris has been under surveillance by Umbrella. Claire uses a facility's PC to contact Leon to inform Chris of her capture and Umbrella surveillance. Claire continues on and finds the Ashford estate, eventually meeting its inhabitants, twins Alfred and Alexia Ashford, who try to hinder Claire and Steve's progress. The pair eventually discover Alfred to be disguising himself as his sister as part of a dual personality disorder before they are able to escape the island in an airplane. During their flight, they are attacked by the TO-78 Tyrant, which Claire is able to fend off before the ship's autopilot activates and takes them to an Umbrella facility in Antarctica. There, they are again confronted by Alfred, who Steve is able to shoot, causing him to fall into an abyss. Just after this, the mutated remains of Alexander Ashford, the twins' father, as well as son of Umbrella co-founder Edward Ashford, awaken as the Nosferatu, and it attacks the pair as they reach a helipad. Claire fights the creature and kills it, allowing her and Steve to take a nearby snowmobile and head off to a nearby research outpost. Meanwhile, Alfred crawls to find his sister, Alexia, waking from a cryogenic sleep she was put under after she injected herself with the T. Veronica virus the family developed 15 years prior. Now awakened with mutated abilities, but her consciousness intact, she is able to dispatch a tentacle to capture Claire and Steve. She then cradles her brother as he finally dies. In the meantime, Chris Redfield arrives on Rockford Island after receiving Claire's message from Leon. While searching the island to determine where Claire has gone, Chris comes across Albert Wesker, who was hired by a new organization to capture Alexia for a sample of the T. Veronica virus. Surprisingly, Wesker now possesses superhuman strength and speed. Wesker reveals Claire's location to Chris before leaving to search for Alexia. Chris heads to the Antarctic and discovers the Nosferatu, recovered and sprung up to hang by Alexia. Chris is able to defeat her defenses and reach Claire in a replica of the Spencer Mansion within the base. They are separated by Alexia's tentacles, and Claire heads off alone to search for Steve. Claire finds Steve, but he is unfortunately infected by the T. Veronica virus. He then mutates into a giant axe-wielding creature and attempts to kill Claire. One of Alexia's tentacles captures Claire, and Steve is able to fight the virus to free her. Steve then reverts back to his normal self and professes his love for Claire before dying from his wounds. In the main hall, Chris watches Wesker confront Alexia. She refuses to turn herself over and mutates into a more powerful form to battle Wesker. He then leaves Chris to handle the situation as he runs off. Chris fights Alexia, defeating her, then heading off to rescue Claire. However, Alexia arrives again, and Chris is forced to take her down again to protect his sister. Alexia then mutates further, and Chris uses an experimental weapon called the Linear Launcher to take her out once and for all. As they attempt to escape the now self-destructing facility, Wesker captures Claire, and Chris gives chase. Outside, Wesker releases Claire, revealing that his men have taken Steve to extract the T. Veronica virus remaining in his body. Wesker taunts that maybe Steve can be revived as he was to see Claire again. Chris convinces Claire to leave as he fights Wesker one-on-one. After the fight, the exploding building causes injury to Wesker, causing him to flee, warning Chris that the next time they meet will surely be their last. Chris then reaches a plane that Claire found, and the two fly off, escaping the facility as it explodes, with Chris vowing to destroy Umbrella once and for all.
4 years later, Leon S. Kennedy, now working as a special agent for the United States, is sent with USSO comm soldier Jack Krauser to South America to track down Javier Hidalgo, a former drug lord who had gone missing, but reportedly had reached out to Umbrella. In a nearby village, they find the inhabitants, some Javier's men, to be infected. They fight their way through the village to find their guide, who claims that a girl has brought devils to the village before he is taken away by a BOW. Leon and Krauser find the girl, soothing the BOW with a song. The duo are able to fight it to scare it away, then head inside to rescue the girl. Unconscious, they take her on a boat and head upstream to Hidalgo's mansion. When she awakens, they head into a dam, where Javier and his men arrive. He reveals the girl to be his daughter, Manuela, who he has been treating with the T. Veronica virus obtained by Wesker to hopefully cure her terminal disease. She is able to avoid his capture, however, and the three regroup on top of the dam. Eventually, they come across the BOW again, and it is revealed to be Manuela's mother, Hilda, mutated due to a failed attempt at curing the disease with the virus. As they kill her, she shoots out a spike from her body, piercing Krauser's arm, infecting him with the virus. Javier then merges himself with the plant harboring the T. Veronica virus, and Manuela focuses the power of the virus inside of her, and she helps kill the monstrosity that's become of her father. Afterwards, the three escape on a helicopter. Manuela is taken in by the government, and Krauser is discharged from the military for his injuries. But, inside his own mind, he knows the path he must take to harness the power now inside of him.
Sometime later, disgraced former Umbrella employee Morpheus D. Duvall is aboard the Umbrella-owned Spencer Range ship, holding the world hostage under threat of releasing the virus unless he receives a ransom from the US and China of $1 billion. Bruce McGivern is sent by a United States government task force developed to take down Umbrella, and a Chinese agent named Fong Ling is sent in by her respective government. Bruce is confronted by Morpheus on the ship's foredeck and held at gunpoint. Fong Ling surprises the both of them with a grenade attack, allowing Bruce to escape into the ship and injuring Morpheus. To heal himself, Morpheus injects himself with an experimental combination of the T-virus and a G-virus antibody. This causes him to mutate, but he's able to maintain his mind state. He battles Bruce in his new form, but Bruce is aided again by Fong Ling to emerge successful. The two then work together to return power to the ship and access the bridge, where they discover the ship's collision course towards a nearby island. Bruce then fights an escaped experimental T+G virus tyrant, called the Tyrant 091, and is able to defeat it before jumping into the ocean and swimming towards the shore of the island. There, Bruce and Fong Ling find that the island was repurposed by Umbrella as a waste disposal facility for BOW experiments. After defeating some of them, they learn that Morpheus has reached a deal with China, who will pay his ransom if they kill Fong Ling. Bruce cuts out a tracking device in her tattoo, rendering them unable to kill her by orbital strike. Bruce defeats a large BOW called Pluto before Morpheus arrives and sends the elevator he and Fong Ling are in crashing to the sea floor. They are able to survive, but later Fong Ling is captured by Morpheus. Bruce is able to finally defeat Morpheus after the G component of his virus took control, allowing Bruce to deal enough damage to kill the beast. Afterwards, Bruce and Fong Ling escape using a nearby boat, and the two share a kiss, with Fong returning to the US in a rescue helicopter with Bruce.
Months later, Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield reunite on a new mission together to investigate a town in the Caucasus region of the Russian Federation for BOW activity. They quickly discover everyone in the town to be infected by the T-virus and conclude that Umbrella's to blame. They find one survivor, a girl named Anna. They find Wesker, who doesn't take responsibility for the outbreak, instead claiming it to be an accident. Wesker escapes, and Chris and Jill are forced to flee to their vehicle to get a grenade launcher to kill attacking hunters. Anna then gives Jill a pendant to protect her from the cursed beings. The pair then find Wesker in Anna's house approaching a safe, which he claims holds Umbrella research. Anna gives Wesker a pendant, which he is able to turn into the key to open the safe. However, it explodes, having been a trap for whomever would try to steal the data. Wesker survives the explosion and finds a disk of research elsewhere in the house. Chris and Jill later determine that there is an Umbrella factory nearby that was producing the BOWs in the area.
Chris and Jill find and storm the facility with the help of a group of armed activists. There, Sergei Vladimir unleashes the T-virus as well as all of the most powerful BOW defenses inside the facility. They're able to take all of these down, as well as Umbrella's most sophisticated and powerful tyrant, the Tyrant Armored Lethal Organic System, successfully securing the facility.
Using Chris and Jill's attack as a distraction, Wesker also infiltrates the facility and is met by Sergei, who sends one of his Ivan bodyguards after him. Wesker is able to dispatch of this threat and find Sergei once more, who infects himself with the T-virus. After he mutates, Wesker kills him and steals all of Umbrella's data from their Red Queen supercomputer. He then erases the machine and leaves with a new goal in mind. Afterwards, Umbrella is tried and found guilty of their crimes revolving around the Raccoon City outbreak. Wesker testifies anonymously, implicating founder Oswell E. Spencer, starting a global manhunt. Wesker then uploads all of the stolen data into his computer, vowing to meet Spencer again.
A year later, the floating Mediterranean city of Terra Grigia is attacked by the bioterrorist outfit Il Veltro. The Federal Bioterrorism Commission calls in help from the Independent Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, co-founded by Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, to take care of the threat of BOWs in the city, but they ultimately fail, causing the head of the FBC, Morgan Lansdale, to call for the city's total destruction using the solar-powered satellites the city used for energy. Despite the BSAA's leader Clive R. O'Brien's protests, the FBC carries out this plan, evacuating all operatives from the city and assigning agents Parker Luciani and Jessica Sharawat to protect the building for evac.
At the same time, a human rights organization called TerraSave works to rescue any survivors before the city's destruction. One member, Neil Fisher, finds and rescues a girl named Natalia, whose parents were killed in the outbreak, and he gives her a teddy bear, which she names Lottie.
After the evacuation's complete, Parker and Jessica reach their own escape chopper, and the satellites activate, altogether destroying the city of Terra Grigia. Disappointed by the FBC's decision to destroy the city instead of saving it, the pair then leave the commission to join the BSAA.
Months later, Leon S. Kennedy is sent to an unnamed village in Spain to rescue Ashley Graham, daughter of the president, who is kidnapped by a mysterious cult called Los Iluminados. There, Leon encounters the villagers infested by a mind-controlling parasite called Las Plagas. At the same time, Ada Wong, still working for Umbrella's rival company, is sent by Albert Wesker to gain information on Las Plagas. She sees Leon battling the villagers and makes her way to the nearby church, ringing the bell to lead the villagers away. Leon then meets a captured Luis Serra, who unbeknownst to him is a researcher planted by Wesker's organization, who Ada is currently working for. The two are then captured, and the cult's leader, Osmond Sadler, injects Leon with the parasite while he's passed out. When the two awaken, they are able to break their bonds and Luis runs off. Leon then makes his way towards a nearby church after learning that Ashley might be there. On his way, he is accosted by Los Iluminados priest Vitores Mendez, but Ada arrives and shoots him, distracting him to chase her instead. She is then shot with a tranquilizer dart and captured by the cult, who she is able to escape easily. Leon fights a giant plague-infected creature called the Del Lago before collapsing in a nearby cabin due to his exhaustion and festering infection. After waking, Leon makes his way to the church and rescues Ashley. However, upon leaving with her, the pair are confronted by Sadler, who reveals that not only has Leon been infected with the parasite, but so has Ashley. Los Iluminados plans to allow the two to return to the president, then take control with the Plagas to infect and subsequently control the president and other powerful figures in turn. The two are able to escape the church and make their way back to the cabin where they meet Luis. After defeating an onslaught of attacking ganado, or those infected with the Plagas, Luis steps out and speaks to Ada alone, who he informs that he is leaving to gather a sample of the parasite for her. Leon and Ashley then head off to reach a nearby castle, hoping to take refuge until they can extract. On their way, they are again confronted by Mendez, but Leon is able to kill him and take his artificial eye, using it to activate a retinal scanner and open the gate to the castle. Inside the castle, Leon meets Ramon Salazar, the Castellan of the area. Salazar, a 20-year-old, despite his appearance, reveals that he is also infected with the Plagas, but the dominant species allows him full control of his body as well as the other hosts. Leon and Ashley leave to go to the center of the castle, but Ashley begins to cough up blood due to her infection. Distraught by this, she runs away from Leon, getting captured in the process. Leon searches the castle for Ashley and is eventually confronted by Ada. He asks her about her employment, but she doesn't reveal anything, instead cryptically escaping in a smokescreen. Leon finds Ashley, and as he is about to arrive to rescue her, Luis arrives with a drug to suppress his and Ashley's infection. However, he is quickly killed by Sadler, who obtains the sample of the Plagas that Luis obtained for Ada. Sadler leaves, and with his dying breath, Luis gives Leon the medication and warns him that he must retrieve the sample from Sadler. Ada witnesses this and informs Wesker of this development. Leon reunites with Ashley, but the two are separated again. Leon fights his way to Salazar, who reveals that Ashley has been taken to a research facility on a nearby island. Salazar then fully mutates, and Leon is able to kill him. Leon then finds Ada in a speedboat, who offers to take him to the island. Once they arrive, Ada escapes from Leon once again, and she heads off to meet with Jack Krauser, now working for Wesker as well. The two discuss their plan to obtain the sample, and after she leaves, Ada is informed by Wesker that Krauser's mission is to kill Leon. In the research facility, Leon finds Ashley, and the two escape, only to find Sadler, who reveals that their virus has progressed to the point where he can control them, making Ashley join him as he leaves Leon incapacitated. When Leon regains his ability to move, he heads off to find Ashley once again, but is attacked by Krauser. Just as Krauser is about to kill Leon, Ada arrives and shoots him, causing him to retreat. She then leaves Leon once again. Leon fights his way to Ashley once again, eventually coming across Krauser, whose infected arm fully mutates before the two fight once more, with Leon defeating him and continuing on. Ada reports Krauser's death to Wesker, who decides to use Leon to do the dirty work of killing Sadler, with Ada on cleanup duty afterwards. Later, Leon and Ada's paths cross once again, but during their meeting, the Plaga takes over Leon, causing him to attack Ada. She's able to stab him to snap him out of it, and the two split up once again. Afterwards, Ada is attacked by Krauser, who survived his recent encounter with Leon. The two fight, and Ada is able to kill him once and for all. Leon finally finds Ashley's containment room and confronts Sadler, who is quickly able to overpower him. Luckily, Ada arrives and shoots Sadler, providing enough distraction for Leon to release Ashley from her pod and escape. Ada then fights Sadler on her own, eventually believing to have killed him. However, when she goes to retrieve the sample, he attacks and captures her. Leon and Ashley